Famous character actors collect a paycheck in this indie comedy about a filmmaker investigating the case of a missing drunk. We watched The Search for One-Eyed Jimmy, and it sorta kinda features Samuel L. Jackson. Today on Nothing Movies. Big old gloomy Gus.
We're just starting off very apoplectic today.
Hey, Cass, do you want to record an episode today? No.
No, it's not a no. It's more like a. I mean, we do this, don't we?
We do.
We get together and we record our thoughts.
This is what our friendship has become.
It's true. It's true. I mean, we try to do things that aren't this.
Remember when we used to go to trivia and whatnot?
Yeah, and now you host trivia.
I do host trivia. Yeah. Wonderfully, I might add.
Oh, that's great. You want to throw a plug in right now at the beginning of the episode? Are we doing this? Is this even part of the episode?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
No, all right.
Because we just told ourselves we would do.
do
hard starts this year.
I think what I meant by that is just no bits.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not happening.
No. You've restrained yourself long enough, but I think
because I'm full of bits.
Yeah.
I'm full of little bits.
You're full of something that rhymes with bits.
Smits?
Yes.
I'm full of Jimmy Smits?
Yes, you are.
You know what? I am full of Jimmy Smits. That guy is in too many projects. That's not true. I love Jimmy Smits. You know what Jimmy Smits is fucking awesome in? Is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah?
That show is pretty mediocre, but god damn it, Smits is fucking killing it. Because they gave him, like, this little, like, throwaway part in, like, Attack of the Clones as, like, Princess Leia's adopted dad. And they've just kept bringing him back, and finally, he gets, like, this... Have you seen it?
Yes.
Yeah, he gets, like, that emotional scene with, like, Princess Leia is all like, you are my daughter. Don't ever tell yourself that. And I'm just like, fucking Smits!
Yeah.
He's fucking killing it! I think he's the best performance in that deeply mediocre television show. I was happy to see him.
All right, I thought the acting was almost entirely across the board very solid, except for young Princess Leia.
That's a kid performance.
That is a young kid performance.
Yeah.
That is like... What is she supposed to be, 10 in that show? That is a 7-year-old girl.
Well, look, if there's one thing that you can say about Star Wars, it's that it has always cast child actors perfectly. And they've never had any issues with their performances, and they've all gone on to lead happy, fulfilling lives with no drama whatsoever, and their lives have not been ruined by being associated with Star Wars in any way.
You know who else had their life affected by Star Wars? Samuel Jackson, today's actor. He was in a couple of Star Wars movies.
Is this how we're opening?
I don't think so.
Is this how we're opening the fucking show?
Do we do a mulligan? Do we do mulligans? I forget how we do these things.
Can we get a Carrie Mulligan? Can we get her in here? She's great.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Howie.
Loyal listeners, welcome back to the show that you listened to for some reason.
I guess this is how this episode opens. Welcome back, however you wish to self-identify, to Nothing Movies, where we ask the question, the fuck are we doing? What the fuck are we doing with our lives? It's the podcast!
Wow. Oh, wow. I was expecting this kind of emotional response on the episode we recorded after you almost got hit by a car in your own house.
I'm tired. I've had some time to sit with it, and I feel like now the existential dread is creeping in. Oh. No, it's fine. It's Monday, and I'm literally done with this week already. But this is the podcast where we go through an actor's filmography, and we choose the most anonymous and culturally untalked about movies that they've made, and decide whether or not they have a certain something, or if they're just a whole lot of nothing. I'm Cass Lescard.
And I'm Jameson Rafter.
And, as Jameson mentioned earlier, we are continuing our journey through the Nothing Movies of Samuel L. Jackson.
Yes, we are.
With the little independent mockumentary comedy filled with recognizable stars of other eras. It's The Search for One-Eyed Jimmy, a movie that was shot in 1993, but did not come out until 1996.
They wanted to make sure it was absolutely perfect. So they delayed that release.
Well, no, they sat on it until the people who were in it got significantly more famous. Like, it was shot before Samuel L. Jackson was an Academy Award nominee.
Right.
And then it was released long after it happened. But
before, like, 3 supporting characters and appeared in a bunch of successful Coen Brothers movies.
This is... you've hit on it, so let's just get into this right now. This movie purely exists off of the goodwill of other much better movies made by much better filmmakers. Because it's a collection of Coen Brothers actors, it's a collection of Tarantino people, Spike Lee actors. It got them right at the germ of their career before they could bloom into the actors that we were all gonna love and be. And this is some early trifle that they probably shot over a weekend and forgot that they did.
Yeah, this reeks of someone calling in a bunch of favors for them to be in this movie.
This is a movie made by someone who knew a lot of people and I guess sold the experience of doing this well enough that everyone involved replied with a collective sure. Yeah, why not?
I'm not doing anything.
Well, maybe they were all friends. I don't know. It's a long time ago, and not a lot of information exists about this movie. So I
can't imagine they all fell in love with the script.
That would be implying that there was a script to this. This feels very loose and improvisational. I said earlier it was a mockumentary, and that's kind of true. We'll get into it. It's also kind of not. It's a mockumentary that forgets very early on what a mockumentary is supposed to be. But Jameson, this was something that you were championing. This was something that you wanted to do. You texted me and you're all like, "Well, we're going through Sam Jackson's career. He has a movie called The Search for One-Eyed Jimmy. Well, I mean, how on earth can we not do a movie called this?"
I mean, that title just leapt out at me. Like, how could I ignore something like that? It was like, good or bad, this is something that I think we should probably at least check out.
Well, we're here,
and I regret it.
as we very often do.
This is the second mockumentary that I've recommended us do this year, and I regret everything.
It's slightly better than the last one. I will say that this one is at the very least watchable. It's not a movie that I want to wash my brain with bleach like after I watch Comic Book the movie.
I think the difference there is like there are better actors in this movie and they're actually playing characters.
Yes. Yeah, we're not just coercing Ron Perlman to be on camera for 30 seconds when he clearly wants to just do the Hellboy junket that he's contractually obligated to do. This is a movie that I'd never seen until we had done this movie, but I definitely remember this box art. I remember this VHS/DVD cover from my years of being a weird-ass kid wandering the halls of Blockbuster Video and just memorizing all of the boxes for future use.
Oh, is that your origin story? Is that how you got your superpower of your encyclopedic brain knowledge? You just sort of pass through the aisles of a Blockbuster.
I mean, it helped.
Like fingertips just like caressing the box covers. And
no, I got my
absorbing the information.
I got my superpowers because when I was young, I fell into a vat of radioactive movies. Which is what happened. They had a bunch of film canisters and they put them too close to the radiator.
Yeah.
And I fell in, and when I came out, I couldn't talk to people as well. I found it hard to relate to other human beings. That's my superpower. But no, I remember this thing. I remember this fucking terrible cover. And there's variations on this cover. Like, I remember this cover, specifically we're looking at, I believe this is the VHS box cover. It is, it's a magnifying glass, and it's 3 actors, and we got Buscemi, we got John Turturro, and we got Nicholas Turturro. Lots of Turturros in this movie. It's the whole family.
Yeah.
The whole Turturro clan showed up for this one. But I remember...
They must have been in the area.
I remember I guarantee people shot their scene for this day and then walked home. There was no transportation needed on that day because I guarantee a lot of them lived around the block.
Yeah.
But I remember variant covers of this. I specifically remember seeing a version of this where I believe Turturro is subbed out for Sam Jackson.
Okay.
Because this is one of many covers that they superimposed Samuel L. Jackson in after the fact, after he became Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
And this is definitely one of them. Well, how do you sell this movie? How do you market this movie? This movie is just, I mean, it's perfect for our purposes because it's a big lot of nothing. Dying! But, Jameson! Before we get into
that, I'm out. Famous last words.
This is my death rattle. So yeah, oh god. Every time I watch a movie, I have these things every once in a while where I'll watch a movie and then I'll go out and I'll live my life, and every once in a while I'll think to myself,
you'll feel joy again.
It's the only thing that works. But no, every once in a while I like to think like if I got hit by a bus, or if I had like a heart attack or an aneurysm, what would be the last movie that I watched? And truly, if this happens to be the last episode of this podcast that we record, for one thing, I'll have to send it to you right away, because you'll have to do the editing, because I'll be dead. Because as I've realized, death is just around the corner. Sometimes you can be sitting on your toilet, and the next minute
you got a car in your house.
Your strawberry jam on the toast of life. I don't know. Have I mentioned how tired I am
yes,
today?
Yes, you have. Yeah.
Oh, good Lord. So before we get into Search for One-Eyed Jimmy, let us continue.
Sorry.
What's so funny? What?
No.
I say something particularly humorous?
No.
Are you just laughing
it's just
at
the situation in general, like this, like lamenting our lot in life and having this like just sense of absolute dread. But before we continue about the discussion of the Search for One-Eyed Jimmy,
I mean, I know it's the reason that we're all here. It's the reason that you're here listening to this right now.
The reason you decided to tune in, because our listeners must know what we thought of this
You're just sitting there, just going like, get to the point. But what happened to Jimmy? How did they find him? Where is he?
That's what kept me watching the fucking movie. I mean, yes, I have to watch it for the show, but it's like, if it were any other situation, this would have been shut off in the first, like, 5 minutes. I don't, like, One-Eyed Jimmy could stay lost for all I cared, but anyways, before we continue with this, we have to resume our discussion of Samuel Jackson's filmography.
Indeed, yes, that's exactly what I was about to say. Yes, so as we mentioned on the last episode, we are covering half of Samuel L. Jackson's career, because it is so long and so expansive, so we were only covering the movies from the first chunk of his career, from 1972 to 2001. Today we're going to be talking about 92 to 97.
Oh, so those are like the formative bit, like that's when he started blowing up, right?
Significantly, yes. So 1992, he's got 5 credits here. He is in a movie that we've discussed previously. He's in the film Juice. We talked about that on the Future Sport episode, because it's from the director of Future Sport, Ernest Dickerson, who is a cinematographer. That's his first movie, and Samuel L. Jackson would have worked with him because Ernest Dickerson was Spike Lee's cinematographer for those early Spike Lee movies that he did. He was also the cinematographer for Death by Temptation, which I finally finished.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Oh, okay.
It's a weird movie.
Death by Temptation.
Definitely worth watching, but very strange. It has some very interesting practical effects. A character gets eaten by a TV.
Okay.
And I had to like rewind it a couple of times, because it's an incredibly low budget movie, but the way that they did that was so fucking interesting. Sometimes when you have a shoestring budget, you're able to create really interesting effects.
Yeah, like how they go about solving problems. Like, I've always appreciated that about practical special effects. So yeah, I mean, if they pulled that off, good on them, and good for the people at Troma. They produced that, right? Yeah.
I think they just distributed it. I think someone else made that, and Troma said, we'll put some money in so that this actually gets released, which is what Troma used to do back in the day. But Juice, a very seminal piece of black cinema, Tupac's first movie, of course. 1992, he's also in Patriot Games, the second Jack Ryan movie. You ever seen any of those Jack Ryan movies?
Oh, I saw Clear and Present Danger, I think as soon as it came out on VHS, because my dad was a big, like, political thriller guy, and he loved all
the
this
least surprising sentence ever mentioned. Not that I know your father or anything, but it's just like, oh yeah, my dad is into Tom Clancy. It's all like, well, yeah.
I think everyone's dad is into Tom Clancy.
You don't have to even mention that. That's a sentence that doesn't even need to be said.
For dad.
Who else is Tom Clancy for? Yeah. He is in that movie. He's in another movie called White Sands. Sounds a little bit like a No Country for Old Men situation. Willem Dafoe plays a sheriff who finds a dead body in the desert, and he finds a bag of money and a bunch of passports and everything, and so he takes the money, and guess what? he probably shouldn't have taken that money.
Oh.
Yeah, Sam Jackson is like fourth billed in that. Mickey Rourke is in it. Mary Elizabeth Mastro Antonio, one of my favorite names. just one of the longest names in Hollywood. It's always great whenever she's in something because it's like whoever does like the font for the opening credits has to work overtime.
Truncate her name a little
bit. Yeah, it's always fun to try and get that name on screen. Then he's in a movie that straight up does not exist called Fathers and Sons, which looks like another serial killer thriller. It's got Jeff Goldblum, Famke Janssen. No one has ever heard that movie.
Okay.
Would be a good category for this podcast if I could find it. It doesn't seem to exist.
Yeah, that seems to be our Achilles heel most of the time.
But I would be remiss if I did not mention that he was in 2 episodes of the classic PBS kids show Ghost Writer.
Oh!
Which, of course, is a show where a bunch of kids have a ghost as a friend who writes.
He was like a computer ghost, wasn't he?
He was like a moving ball of light, I think, that just like went back and forth. Here is a short clip of Samuel L. Jackson on Ghost Rider.
Your grandma said you were coming right home after school. Where you been? And you lied to me, Jamal. I told Lieutenant McQuaid you would never lie to me. And now I find out they have enough evidence to arrest you for arson. What is going on?
So yeah, even in the PBS show Ghost Rider,
he's playing angry Samuel Jackson,
and he's given 120%. He's not giving you anything less than what he normally gives in his movie roles.
Come on, Dad, give me a break. I don't give a fuck what you were.
Get out of here, Jamal. You burned the orphanage down.
I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.
Get this motherfucking ghost out of my motherfucking library. I don't care if he's teaching you about phonics or what. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I think they solved mysteries.
Yeah, it was kids solving mysteries.
Whatever. No joke. There was an episode of Ghost Rider I watched as a kid that gave me nightmares for months.
Oh, some of those kids shows were no joke when it came to the horror elements.
Yeah. There was one episode in particular where they were fighting like a bubblegum monster, and the design of this thing just haunted my... And it was so dumb. It was so goofy. It was a PBS show, so he just covered the kids in goop. But just looking at this thing was just like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
I actually went to my school counselor to tell her that I could not sleep because Gooey Gus was going to get me. That's the thing that freaked me out as a kid. Some kids see The Exorcist too young. Some kids see Freddy Krueger too young.
Some see Gooey Gus too young.
It was Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Ghost Rider still haunts my dreams.
I'm sure the counselor loved that day. They just one look. Look at their degree and like
I can still see them rolling their eyes. It's so much time has passed, I don't remember their gender, but I remember that they had enough of me by the time I walked in the room. It's one of these.
Yeah.
Oh boy. 1993 is a significant year for Jackson because it is the first time he is the lead of a movie. It is the very first time he is above the title, on the poster, Samuel L. Jackson. This is a Samuel L. Jackson picture. Yeah. He's done enough. He's put the time in. He was on 2 episodes of Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
It's time.
The star-making vehicle.
Time to give him his own movie. And of course, the first movie that Samuel L. Jackson was ever the lead of, naturally, was Loaded Weapon 1. National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1.
Yes.
With him and Emilio Estevez.
Yeah, that was that spoof of Lethal Weapon, right?
Yes.
And he played the Danny Glover part?
He played the Danny Glover part.
Right.
I think it was kind of like a spoof of kind of like 90s cop things in general, but it was primarily a spoof of Lethal Weapon.
Like a Hot Shots was a spoof of Top Gun primarily. Yeah.
I haven't seen that in a very long time. I remember thinking that was kind of funny.
I was all over those spoof movies when those early 90s ones, right? So
they played constantly on TV. They were never not Loaded Weapon, Hot Shots, Top Secret, like they were always on TBS or whatever. That one
a simpler, better time.
Yeah.
Right.
But then his other above title role is another comedy, 1993's Amos and Andrew, which is him and Nicolas Cage.
Okay.
And Nicolas Cage, I haven't seen this one. Again, we could have done this on the show if I had found a copy of it anywhere. I believe Nicolas Cage is a criminal, and Samuel L. Jackson is like a businessman.
Okay.
And they're a mismatched pair. And they gotta do something.
They're like they're handcuffed together or something.
Something like that. I don't know.
Comedic misunderstandings. Gotcha.
Something to do with that. He has a small role in Menace to Society, which I definitely saw once. I've always kind of viewed that as like the lesser Boys in the Hood. because it's just one of many stories about black youth trying to. Obviously, it speaks to. Obviously, I'm not the demographic for it, but it's like
you
black
tell me
youth.
what the black experience is like. Yes,
that's what this podcast is for. That's how I can tell the world.
Yeah.
No, but it's about like living in slums and gangbanging and I don't know. I've just realized that I have no idea what the plot of Master Society is. I know it has a very depressing ending.
Okay.
That they later reissued a DVD of decades after the fact. And the DVD cover spoils the tragic ending of the movie because the image that they use for the DVD is literally the main character who has been filled with bullet holes and someone's holding onto his corpse going, no! And it's all like, that's the last shot of the movie. Why would you choose that to be your DVD cover?
Maybe it was a really well done scene and they wanted to hype up this scene. Come see this scene this is the movie that has that really awesome final shot of him getting gunned down.
They're gonna do a 4K steelbook of The Departed, and it's just gonna be a picture of Matt Damon with a bullet in his fucking forehead.
Yeah.
And then two other movies is in 1993. He has a very, very small blink and you'll miss him role in True Romance, which is significant because that's his first collaboration with Tarantino.
Okay.
Not on a movie that he directed, but he wrote
the screenplay.
The script for that.
Yeah.
But he is in like the opening 5 minutes. He has like one line where he talks about how much he loves eating pussy and eating ass, and he'll eat anything. He'll eat all of it. Then Gary Oldman shoots him dead.
Gotcha.
And that would be a spoiler if it didn't happen in the first 5 minutes. But he's in that. But also in 1993, he's in a little movie that you may have heard of called Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Where he says the classic line, hold on to your butts.
That's
Everyone
right.
remembers it. We see his arm. We never see the rest of him. We see his arm. There have been so many Jurassic Park sequels. I always figured that they would bring him back one of these days.
I'm surprised they haven't.
I'm surprised they didn't shoehorn him into Dominion. Just to have him come on and he's got like a robot arm now or something, because these movies have become so fucking stupid now. Why not bring him back?
Sure.
Bring him back for the next.
Or you can just finish up that series and let it lie.
Or alternatively, stop making Jurassic Park movies. Yes. 1994, he's in 3 movies that really have no following. He's in a movie called Fresh, which is another movie about drug culture, and,
what's its Rotten Tomato score?
Black people. I'm gonna put my foot in my mouth like a ton here and everything, but it's along the same lines as Juice and Menace to Society, and I'm saying that based on not having seen the movie. Boy, I'm really just digging a hole for myself. Yeah, I don't know. But, it's from the director.
I mean, you're acknowledging it. I myself would probably have just, omitted all this out of fear that I might be digging my own grave. So at least you're acknowledging it.
I gotta talk about the movies that he's in.
That's right.
We're not gonna do the career, but maybe I'll just get off of Fresh right now because I don't have any opinions on. Oh, I just got that Rotten Tomatoes joke that you.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, that's how fast my brain is working today. He's in a movie called The New Age, which looks like a Peter Weller comedy about yuppies. He's in a movie called Hail Caesar, which is the directorial debut of Anthony Michael Hall. And then near the tail end of 1994, he's in this movie called Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Heard of it?
Yeah.
Changed the cinematic landscape for better or worse.
Yep.
Maybe one of the most significant movies
of the 90s
in history.
Perhaps.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you've watched Pulp Fiction more recently than I have. Yeah. I don't know. How does it hold up? What are your recent fiction takes?
Oh.
And on him in particular.
Oh, damn good question. So I really liked that movie the first time that I saw it.
Hot take.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Tarantino's say what you will about him, he writes dialogue-driven scenes incredibly well. I think he has a very clear idea for what he wants his movies to be. They tend to rub people the wrong way, but I liked the movie when I first saw it, I don't know how many years ago. And I liked it upon a rewatch.
Yeah.
There was nothing in it that made it seem that you could have cut that and sort of lost nothing from the movie. You
probably could have caught Quentin Tarantino literally saying the N-word 3 times. That's kind of the one. That's the one thing with Pulp Fiction. It's it's an absolute stone cold masterpiece. And then it just has that one moment that's very unpleasant and really doesn't need to be. It doesn't add anything to the front end.
I mean, it's not the first N-bomb that's dropped in that movie.
No, it's not, but it's primarily
he might be the only...
the black characters who are saying
I was going to say, he might be the only white guy dropping that in the
and it's specifically him.
Yeah.
It's the fact that he specifically chose to do that role and chose to give himself that dialogue. I don't know. There's lots of... I feel like we really dropped the ball not getting Harrison Mooney's spicy take on
I was going to ask about that. Did you get him to record a message?
We might. I don't know. I'll see maybe if he wants to put something on film and maybe we'll release it. Maybe this episode, maybe next episode, if I can be bothered. But Pulp Fiction to date, his only Academy Award nomination. Which is kind of criminal.
Tarantino?
No, for Jackson.
Oh, for Jackson.
Jackson. He has never been nominated for anything.
Didn't he
since.
Recently win Best Supporting Actor?
He won a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Oh, is that it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He won an honorary Oscar just for his body of work, which is incredible.
And worth celebrating. But that is absolutely criminal.
Yeah. He got the honorary Oscar, and then he had the unenviable task of opening the Pulp Fiction briefcase and awarding Best Actor to Will Smith. Which went great, and nobody had any problems with it, and there's no reason to continue to talk about it after here. But there's lots of performances that we could have given Sam Jackson nominations for. I mean, like, the big one that comes to mind, it's for another Tarantino movie, but he really should have been nominated for Django Unchained.
Yeah.
He's so fucking good in that. He's maybe the best that he's ever been in that. If we run down the filmography, I'm sure I'll pick out other things that he could have been nominated for, but he famously is... Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, I remember him being quite good in The Negotiator.
Sure, that's one I've never seen. That's one that I could definitely rewatch. You just have to wrestle with the spacey of it all.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm one of those guys that I need to be able to separate the artist from the art, otherwise I'll never be able to enjoy anything.
Yes, the majority of the artists who create the work that you love...
Oh, they're monsters.
...are all the worst.
Yeah.
And it's as far back as you can go. It's pretty bad. But
what were you gonna say before I interrupted?
I'm trying to remember now. He's famously salty towards losing Best Supporting Actor that year for Pulp Fiction. Martin Landau won for Ed Wood, which is a great performance.
Okay.
Really, I'd say definitely deserved. It's really kind of hard to wrestle with because it's just kind of like, it's Martin Landau's only Oscar and he's really great in it. But but then if you don't give that to Jackson for Pulp Fiction, he never gets one because unless he just sticks around long enough and eventually they just give him a consolidation Oscar for not dying yet. Pulp Fiction, there we go. He's now Academy Award nominee Samuel L. Jackson, and he can bring that into his next body of work, which is 1995. He does Losing Isaiah, which is the third time he's worked with Halle Berry. This is a movie I'm sure plays amazingly now because it is about a black mother who has to give up her baby, and it's adopted by a white family. And there's a court case, and I'm sure all of the politics in that are great, and there's no problems with that movie, and I'm sure it plays fantastic now. I believe he plays an attorney in that. He's also in Kiss of Death, which is a remake of a 1947 film, which reteams him with Nicolas Cage. That was a movie where they were desperately trying to make David Caruso an actor. But this movie has really stacked supporting cast. Cage, Helen Hunt, Stanley Tucci, Ving Rhames.
Oh, wow. Second only to The Search for One-Eyed Jimmy.
He liked those ensembles. He also provides a voice in the talking dog movie Fluke.
Oh.
Where he provides the
voice
voice
of... When you've never heard of a talking dog movie, it can only be good.
Yes. He, of course, plays the voice of Rumbo. That's all we have to say about that. Not only is that a talking dog movie, but that is a person dies and then is reincarnated as a talking dog movie.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I've never seen it. Again, I'm sure it holds up amazing.
I'm just gonna assume that it's fantastic.
And then in 1995, of course, he's also in Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Yes.
Which I think is his big sort of reward for getting the Oscar nomination.
And his second time appearing in a film with Bruce Willis.
Yes, indeed. And following up Pulp Fiction. Actually, those ones are back-to-back, actually. Yeah.
And he's good. It's nice whenever you see John McClane, partnered with someone who's well, I guess, all the latter sequels have him, saddle up with, a kid of his. But
he has a sidekick in
every movie, right?
3, 4, and 5. He doesn't have a sidekick in 2.
True, yeah.
Vengeance is the one that sort of introduces the sidekick idea. Because, 4 is Justin Long, and then 5 is fucking Jai Courtney as his kid.
And the first one, it's Reginald Vell Johnson. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he's got that.
Is Reginald Vell Johnson a sidekick, or is he just kind of like a side character? Because he's outside the building. He's like his lifeline.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, and he's fighting the fight for John on the outside, like going up against like the bad cops.
If you're gonna say sidekicks for the first Die Hard, it's Reginald Vell Johnson and the chauffeur whose name
Argyle.
Argyle, yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's got 2 buddies in that one. Yeah.
Even though Argyle's missing for half the movie.
Yes.
But I like Samuel Jackson partnered with Bruce Willis in Die Hard 3. You need someone smarter than John McClane.
Yeah. And it's the second best Die Hard movie.
Yes, absolutely.
It doesn't take place at Christmas, but it was playing one year at Christmas on TV, and I watched most of it, and I'm like, damn good movie. Yeah. Really fucking watchable movie.
Yep. Jeremy Irons is a great villain in it. Yeah.
And then
they never made another Die Hard movie.
Yeah, exactly.
All was well with the world.
That was the last Die Hard movie. Of course, that was the last Die Hard movie that they made. 1996. He's in a movie that I rewatched recently, Hard 8, which is the first movie directed by Paul Thomas Anderson.
Okay.
Jameson, have you seen Hard 8?
I don't think I've ever seen any PTA movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's not my bag.
Because we were doing the Letterboxd game off mic with Harrison after the episode ended. You were able to name a lot of Paul Thomas Anderson movies.
Yeah.
You know of them.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. You gotta give yourself a little Paul Thomas Anderson marathon, man. One of our best fucking directors.
Okay.
And Hard 8 is a great movie. Hard 8 is just a deeply watchable movie about an old gambler and a young gambler, and the old gambler is showing the young gambler the ropes. It's John C. Reilly, Gwyneth Paltrow, the late great Philip Baker Hall, and then Sam Jackson. And also a cameo by a very young Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Okay.
Excellent film. 1996, he's in a movie called The Great White Hype. Which appears to be a boxing comedy where he's a boxing promoter, and it is a boxing match between Damon Wayans and Peter Berg, old buddy Peter Berg, before he started making films as a director. Cast in this includes Jeff Goldblum, John Lovitz, Cheech Marin, Jamie Foxx.
Oh, wow.
A lot of people. Again, another movie that I would have loved to have done on this show if we could have.
If I didn't insist on doing a search for One Eye Jimmy.
And also if it was readily available.
Yeah.
Make everything streaming, damn it. Look, if physical media is dying the way everyone says it is, just make every movie available for streaming, okay?
Yeah.
I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this hunt that we have to do every time.
Put it on one of Netflix, YouTube, Tubi, Amazon Prime, or Disney Plus.
There's so many of them.
If it's not on one of those files, we're not going to cover it on the show. That's our warning to you, Hollywood.
He's in Trees Lounge, which is the directorial debut of Steve Buscemi, an actor in this movie that we're talking about here. A very good movie, a very kind of like laconic, rambling sort of independent movie. Steve Buscemi plays, surprise, surprise, a loser who kind of just, I think he drives an ice cream truck. And it's just him going back and forth to bars and talking to the various people, and Samuel Jackson is one of those people.
Not to imply that people who drive ice cream trucks are losers.
No, not at all. Most of them are probably on watch lists, but but they're not losers.
It's a good summer job.
They're dangerous criminals, but they're not.
We've seen Ice Cream Man,
but they're winners. Oh man, Ice Cream Man. We can't go on an Ice Cream Man tangent. No. Oh man, some of David Naughton's best work. He is in The Long Kiss Goodnight. Which people have told me is an excellent movie, and I really need to see it. That's on Netflix. That may be the next Sam and Jackson movie that I watch, because I've heard that's one of Rennie Harlin's best movies.
Fuck, who's oh god,
it's him and Gina Davis.
That's it. Yeah.
And it's kind of like the last good big movie Gina Davis is in, because right before the year before Long Kiss Goodnight, because she was married to Rennie Harlin, and the year before that they made Cutthroat Island. One of the biggest bombs of all time. And then I think this movie kind of came and went because of that. Oh, okay. But it secretly is great. Yeah. But it didn't really get like it got like a following after the fact.
That's like an amnesia movie too, right?
Yeah, it is. It's she turns out to be a secret agent. She didn't realize she was a secret agent. Yeah. Something like that. And also in 1996, he's in A Time to Kill.
That's a great movie, and that's probably John Grisham's best book.
Cool. You've actually read
I've read a few of them. I mean, they're just like...
Those are like the longest fucking books ever written. Like
they're no Game of Thrones.
Longer than fucking Lord of the Rings. They are door stops.
They are like these little paperbacks that you can just get at an airport.
I mean,
you can read them on a vacation. But it's a good story about the lawyer who has to defend a black man who killed a...
Oh, I've seen it.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen the movie.
Yeah, he has to defend him in like a very heavily racist county.
Yeah.
For having a just trial for the murder of these guys who raped his daughter.
And
yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell.
I was about to say, of the classic Samuel L. Jackson lines, that is in there amongst... That's one of the great ones. That's in there amongst Hold On to Your Butts. That's in there amongst... Ezekiel 24, whatever, that's in there amongst the motherfucking snakes on the motherfucking plane.
But that's actually like an important line, not a quip.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, I think it's the movie that early showing that Matthew McConaughey is a good actor.
That was kind of like his first lead role in like a sort of like a big budget Hollywood mainstream thing, because before that he was in like Texas Chainsaw Next Generation and like other stuff that he was just floundering. Well, he had done Dazed and Confused actually, but that's a supporting role. But
that was more of like a comedy too.
But then but also everyone is in A Time to Kill, like Sandra Bullock, Donald and Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah.
But lots of other people that I'm not remembering. Spacey, of course. Spacey's also in there.
Yeah. People check out that movie.
Yeah,
or read
it's really
the book.
good. And you know what's wild is that Joel Schumacher made that in between Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. Like, he took a break
from making these absolute schlock to make one of the greatest legal dramas of all time.
But also, before Batman Forever, he did The Client. So he went Grisham, Batman, Grisham, Batman.
It's like my bookshelf.
Yeah. Indeed. And then 1997, he's got 3 movies. He has 187, which is a sort of a teacher pushed to the edge movie. Like, I remember seeing like the trailer for that one. At first I thought it was like
a Coach Carter kind of thing?
Yeah, except like really dark and not inspirational at all. Like at first I thought it was like, oh, this teacher's gonna come in, he's gonna teach these kids on like the rough edge of town or whatever, and then I watched the trailer and it's very much, no, Samuel L. Jackson has had enough of these fucking kids.
In this fucking school.
And he's maybe gonna do something about it. It's not going to be good. He's in a movie called Eve's Bayou, which I hear is low-key maybe one of his best performances. That is from the director Kasai Lemons, who he works with a couple of times. A movie about like a young girl who like I think witnesses a murder. Jackson plays her father. Again, he's in lots of movies that apparently are great. I haven't seen it. That has to be on my list. But then the last movie we'll talk about, in 1997, he's in his follow-up to Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown.
Yeah.
Which I think is one of his best performances. Yeah. I think he's so charismatic and so scary in that movie. And while it's not on the same level as like I Hope They Burn in Hell or some of the other things, when he's got like his monologue about like when you absolutely positively have to kill every motherfucker in the room except no substitutes, like that's pretty good.
That's the Cracker Jack Tarantino dialogue and delivered by basically his muse,
basically his favorite actor. I don't think he's appeared in every movie he's done, but there was a period where Tarantino was all like, I'll sneak Sam in here a little bit, because he's not in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
No, even though he very easily could have been in like a party scene. Or...
There's lots of people in that movie. Yeah. Maybe he was busy with like the 18 other franchises he's doing now.
There was like no reason to put him into Inglourious Basterds. No, but whatever, I'll make him the narrator.
Yeah, exactly. He found the only conceivable way you could put Sam Jackson in a World War II killing Nazis movie. Just have him narrate one little bit.
Yeah, and whatever. I like his like small cameo in Kill Bill, where like he's like the organist. At the dusty wooden church. Like, you got a song? Like, is this here in that line? It's like, ha, there he is.
There's my man. Yeah. And then Tarantino does his 2 westerns, and those are some of Jackson's best performances. Hateful Eight isn't a movie that holds up terribly well, but I think it's the first. It's arguably you could make the argument that he's a lead in Jackie Brown, but this is like the only time Tarantino has made him the lead actor
the principal
character of a movie. Mm-hmm. And he's pretty goddamn fantastic, as flawed as that movie is. And speaking of flawed movies, we're finally going to get into The Search for One-Eyed Jimmy, but we'll take a little break and we'll give you this charity spot and we'll talk about how the world is just amazing.
Yeah.
How the world
you can help make it better.
How the world is just going great. You know what I like about humanity, Jameson?
I'm sure it's a short list.
Is how well we work together and love each other unconditionally.
Yes.
I'd say that's my top thing about the human race.
How everyone's all on the same page.
Is how altruistic we are and how no one has any problems.
No one's out for themselves.
No, and people's rights aren't being taken away from them.
You know what's funny? I'm normally a very positive, happy-go-lucky person, and it's only when we do this show that I come off really sardonic and cynical.
Well, it's because I'm bringing you down to my level. This is what happens when you become friends with me. Yeah. I eventually drag you down into the muck where I live. All right, we'll be right back.
Last year, Canada was the focus of international news with the unearthing of the mass graves of thousands of Indigenous children surrounding multiple residential schools. It was a shocking, disturbing truth non-Indigenous Canadians needed to learn about their home country's dark history and come to terms with. The aftermath saw a swell of support for Indigenous charities across the nation, and an almost universal collective agreement that Canada Day would not be celebrated that year. This year, there was noticeably less of an effort to show solidarity for the Native communities this Canada Day. And look, I'm not going to begrudge people their right to celebrate the holiday, just as I'm not going to belittle the progress and efforts that have been made towards reconciliation. I just want to emphasize that we cannot lose ground in our efforts to reconcile with the past, and that there is still much work to be done. So for today's charity spot, I want to highlight the Legacy of Hope Foundation, which is a national Indigenous charitable organization which supports the ongoing healing process of residential school survivors, their families, and seeks their input on projects that honor them. They create awareness and understanding about the school system, the infamous 60s scoop, the PTSD that many continue to experience, and all while trying to address racism, foster empathy, and inspire action to improve the situation of Indigenous people today. And I'd also like to spotlight BC's own Orange Shirt Society, the foundation responsible for Orange Shirt Day, celebrated the world over. Orange Shirt Day is the legacy of a commemoration project and reunion event spurred on by the survivors of residential schools, a global day of opportunity to witness and honor their healing journey. It encourages an open discussion all Canadians can tune into and create bridges with each other and reaffirm that the survivors, those affected, and the deceased all matter. I think we can all agree that Canada is not perfect, but I do have faith that the vast majority of the people in this country are genuine in their efforts to make things better and to atone for the past. If you would like to make a donation to either of these charities, please do so at their websites at legacyofhope.ca/donate and orangeshirtday.org. Once again, those websites are legacyofhope.ca/donate and orangeshirtday.org.
Back into that headspace.
That's just the headspace that I live in all the time. I just have a massive hole in my bathroom and a massive hole in my life, and we're back.
So everything's going whatever.
Everything's going. I'm playing it up. Look,
right.
folks at home listening. I'm playing it up. I'm actually fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a very long day, and I'm just kind of. I'm feeling. The energy I'm bringing today. This is the energy I'm bringing where everything's great and I have no problem.
The charity spot would just be like, hey guys, now that it's just the two of us, Kaz needs a win. Can you just like
today's charity is just
here's how you can wire Kaz some money.
Kaz needs a night out.
Yeah.
Kaz needs a spa weekend. Mm-hmm. So The Search for One-Eyed Jimmy is written and directed by Sam Henry Cass. Who is a guy who has directed some stuff, and no one has ever heard of it, or him, for that matter. He only has a couple of other credits to his name, including a film in 1999 called Body and Soul, which is a boxing movie, which is starring an actor that I'm going to credibly call his muse, as an actor who has appeared in all of his movies and TV shows, including this movie, Search for One-Eyed Jimmy, is a gentleman named Ray Boom Boom Mancini, who was a former boxer, who was also an actor, and he's the lead of this movie. He plays Lefty, in One-Eyed Jimmy. But he's the star of this movie. It's a boxing movie. It's a remake of a 1947 boxing movie. Also has Michael Chiklis, Rod Steiger, and Joe Mantegna.
Wow.
So some big names.
Yeah.
And then in 2002, he directed a movie called Naked Party. Which certainly grabs the attention.
Yeah.
I've turned down that invitation once or twice.
I went to an anything but clothes party. That's the closest I ever had to something like that. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So the synopsis of this is: a bet leads two couples to play a game blindfolded where they have to find their partner. That's it. That's all the synopsis. So it's that one joke from Blockers, but they made an entire movie about it. Yeah. The inexplicable cast of this movie is Lou Diamond Phillips, Andy Dick, French Stewart, Carmen Electra, Tori Spelling, Jeff Garlin, David Carradine, Christian Slater, Ray Boom Boom Mancini, and, most interestingly, the actor Michael Badalucco playing Joe Head.
Really?
The character from this movie. I kind of did this backwards, but because we haven't even mentioned the character of Joe Head yet, but yeah, I guess this is a weird pseudo-sequel, or it takes place in the same universe as One-Eyed Jimmy, because there's a character that carries over from that movie to this movie.
Interesting.
But we're not gonna follow up on that, because there's no way we're watching Naked Party.
And there's no way I would want to. I'm kind of impressed that he was able to, okay, I get for the casting of this movie, a lot of them hadn't really made it big yet. I'm sure they were all in independent film darlings. At this point, he's getting some actual names for this Naked Party follow-up.
A lot of them are playing themselves, I should have mentioned.
Okay.
So again, this is him calling in favors.
Somehow. Because I did peruse his IMDb, and he did a lot of production work on Seinfeld.
He did 2 episodes of Seinfeld.
That counts.
Yeah, and he also did some production work on Arliss and some other TV shows. TV show that he created and directed almost every episode of 2019 as a web series called Starving, which is Star-Ving.
Yeah, I got it.
And that's a show, it's one of these fucking things where they get an actor, a washed-up actor from the thing, to play themselves, and the concept of the show is all you remember this guy? Well, his career sucks now, but he's gonna try and get it back, and there's gonna be booze and pills and swearing. Yay!
Right.
And the star du jour of this is Married with Children's David Faustino.
Oh.
So it's 12 episodes of them trying to wring comedy out of... Remember that guy? Remember him? He used to be...
And he's on Hard Times
famous.
now.
He's on Hard Times now.
Yeah.
And interestingly, the supporting cast of the show also playing themselves... interesting for our purposes, 2 actors that we've talked about on episodes previous, 2 actors both playing themselves, are Corin Nemec and, of course, Coolio. Because I can't escape from him!
Yeah.
I can't get away!
Your nemesis is back! Check out our episode on, what was that, Dracula 3000?
Dracula 3000. Yeah. Oh, that's an old episode.
Yeah.
We hadn't found our footing yet on that
one. Hear Kaz's thoughts on Coolio in that class.
Or not.
Yeah.
I've redacted my thoughts on Coolio.
Yeah, he doesn't forget, though.
And then the last thing he did of note, it was literally called the Sam Henry Cast Show.
Oh, man.
Which is another weird web series thing. There's I watched about 9 minutes of it on YouTube.
It can only be good.
I wanted to take a shower after I was done. The best way to describe it is it's basically the Eric Andre show, but with no irony. It's just played completely. So the synopsis for this is... Sam Henry Cass sits next to a chain-smoking alcoholic sidekick interviewing weird porn stars on a crummy couch. That's the setup. And I watched it, and it's him in a terrible studio. He has a lady in a bikini, which he only refers to as Bikini Girl.
Okay.
And it seems... weirdly misogynistic. It was really unpleasant. It was a really unpleasant 9 minutes of watching it. We've watched some shitty transfers on YouTube before, but this was basically expressionistic art. Whoever uploaded this, because I couldn't make out people's faces on this, and they were doing me a favor.
I'm sure that is like exclusively streaming on some kind of platform.
That's on Spike TV. Oh, that's on That's not even on Spike. That's too good for it. That's on fucking.
It's rebroadcasted on Spike TV.
The fucking Red Bull channel.
Yeah.
That's not a thing, but it should be.
Nah, I know DonKing.tv was a thing. Maybe it's broadcasted on that.
Who's Don King?
He's a boxing promoter.
Oh, yeah, Don King. Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. They'll give... He's like an actual criminal. He murdered a person, right?
I'm not going to weigh in on that.
Well, Jameson...
allegedly? I don't know.
I need you to run us down the plot of The Search for One-Eyed Jimmy. And while you do that, I'm going to confirm...
You're going to ignore me while
I'm going to confirm that Don King has taken the life of another person.
Okay, so this movie is set in early 90s Brooklyn, and it follows the exploits of this young filmmaker named Lester, who has gone back to his old neighborhood after spending a stint in California, going to film school, and he wants to do a student thesis film, I suppose, on his neighbors, or his neighborhood, except he seems to just, have no plan in mind. But while he's interviewing the neighborhood residents, he gets wind of a missing person case, and suddenly his student film becomes like this documentary of just the neighborhood eccentrics banding together to find this missing person. And this person is aptly named One-Eyed Jimmy.
Don King shot and killed a man in 1954, but it was ruled as justifiable homicide. And then he was convicted of second-degree murder in 1967.
Oh.
So he murdered 2 people before he became famous.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Seems like a great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So this movie opens with some nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
It opens with we see Steve Buscemi, who is playing One-Eyed Jimmy's brother, we later find out, and his hustle is that he's got a cardboard cutout of a local wrestling legend, and he's charging $5 for people to take photographs in front of the cardboard cutout, and he harasses a little girl. He just says, "I don't want to give you my money." He's all like, "What? You're not an American?" And then there's other weird random stuff.
There's a dude selling fireworks, and when the fireworks aren't selling, he starts selling grenades. There's a moment where someone's using a payphone, and then when the call doesn't go through, he literally picks up the phone booth and walks away with it in a very Zucker Brothers style visual gag.
And you're left asking yourself, well, what's the context behind that? Are we going to meet this character later? Are we going to find out what this guy's whole deal is? His life a dream? No, that character is never seen again.
Yeah.
I think that was just an outtake that they maybe filmed, and they just decided, we'll throw it in there.
Yep.
We'll throw it in the gag reel, and they accidentally edited it into the movie so that it's the second thing that you see in the movie.
And you would just assume that these are just these Naked Gun style jokes, but the rest of the movie has none of shit like that.
Not really. There's a few gags, but yeah, it's kind of played mostly straight
and unfunny.
Okay, this movie did make me laugh. Sometimes.
Okay, I will concede there's a few laughs.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm gonna say
sprinkled amongst really annoying scenes.
I'm gonna say the first laugh. Yeah, there's a few laughs. There's a couple performances I actually liked quite a bit.
Yes.
And we'll get to them when we come up, but I think there are 2 genuinely pretty good performances in that. The first one I'm going to spotlight is the actor that I mentioned earlier, the actor Michael Badalucco. What the hell is his name? Badalucco?
Boom Boom?
Michael, it's not Boom Boom. I already fucked up. How the hell do you pronounce this guy's name?
Who is the guy?
Badalucco. It is. Michael Badalucco plays Joe Head. Michael Badalucco is one of those actors. He's been around a lot. He won an Emmy for The Practice.
Yeah, I recognized him as Babyface Nelson from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
That's right.
Yeah.
You actually schooled me for one. I forgot that was him. He's great in that.
He's fantastic in that.
He's really great in that.
I was watching it where do I know this guy? Where do I know this guy? Yeah. So
he's Natalie Portman's shitty dad in Leon the Professional, which is wild to consider that because he's such a sweetheart in this. I feel so sorry for Joe Head.
He gets the rough end of the.
He's described
as a raw deal the whole fucking movie.
He's just kind of this sweet dumb guy that no one likes and no one gives the time of day to. He's described in the movie's subtitles as the neighborhood virgin. But he has a very funny line when he's being interviewed at the beginning, where he was talking about a date that doesn't go very well. He said, I brought him back to my grandparents' house, and the cameraman asked him, not the cameraman, Les, the documentarian, says, you brought him back to your grandmother's house? And said, yeah, I'm completely independent. I moved out of my mom's house a year ago. And that was the first genuine laugh the movie gave me. And I'm all like, it was good delivery. It's a funny line.
Yeah. But he's just a sad sack because, I brought her over to my grandfather's place so we could watch pornography. He's got a big pornography collection.
Yeah, a little bit of Taxi Driver in there.
Yeah, and apparently the grandfather ended up sleeping with the girl he brought over.
Yeah, these are the type of jokes we're working with. Yeah. This is a very bro movie. It's a movie that exists in a time and place probably best left forgotten. It's a little misogynist. It's definitely homophobic. It's
even stuff like For the Time would probably be considered not even in bad taste, but just like unpopular opinion.
Sure.
Like
I think that some of the opinions that this movie has were a little more accepted when this movie came out. They should not have been. But people were a little more. It was easier to swallow this movie.
Sure, but even with that that kind of material, it's just not even presented in a clever way. Which you could absolutely forgive some of that stuff if it is genuinely well constructed and maybe something you haven't heard before.
Look, I'm fine with watching movies with nasty bad characters with bad opinions. It's totally fun. You can make movies about racists, you can make movies about homophobes, you do whatever. We're not supposed to
root for them in the first place. Yeah.
The problem is that there's just so many people who don't get that we shouldn't be rooting for these people, and they take it at face value now, because satire isn't dead. It's just pointless.
Yeah,
people don't get the point that movies are trying to make.
And this is not meant to be satire.
I guess not. I don't know. What's it satirizing?
I don't know.
The concept of mockumentaries, and it's doing it very badly.
Very poorly. On that subject, actually, so we have Les, who is the guy who came back home to shoot his documentary, and he has a cameraman that follows him around, and he doesn't speak a word this entire movie.
He does say one line.
He does he?
You think? Did you not catch that?
No.
He goes through the entire movie. And I'm gonna. We'll get to the point. It's near the end of the movie, but no, he does in fact say. He does in fact have a single line.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, for the most part, he's an entirely
he's
character.
The Silent Bob
and
character.
He also has no name. He's just the cameraman. And Les is played by a very young Holt McElhaney, who's one of those actors that has been around as long as all of the other actors in this movie has, but he's only just kind of popping now. His big thing is he's in that Netflix show Mindhunter.
Okay.
He's the lead of that, and he got a big bump because of that. People liked him, and now he's getting lots of now he's getting lots of movie roles. He's excellent in Wrath of Man, the Jason Statham movie, which is a great movie.
Yeah,
he's good. Yeah,
he's one of those other guys that I recognize him, but I just didn't know from where.
He looks a lot different now.
Yeah,
he's very skinny in this movie. And the cameraman is played by Lodge Kerrigan, who is an actual director now. He's gone on to direct a couple of independent movies like Keen and Clean Shaven and stuff like that. But every time the movie actually does bother to be a mockumentary, he is the credited cinematographer for that. The movie has 3 credited cinematographers.
And one of them's an actual character.
And one of them is actually him, and he's actually on the screen. But continue what you were saying, because I think it leads to the point that I was
I wanted to just elaborate on the fact that there is a documentarian in this movie, and the movie does a super annoying thing that say what you will for comic book the movie and how cheap and poorly made that was. At least you could always tell when the actual cameraman character was filming.
Yeah.
Because there are moments in this film where they are addressing the camera and there's no frame reticule around the screen, letting you know that this is shot through the actual camera man character. There were moments where the characters break the fourth wall to say, "Hey, what are you doing with that?" Turn that camera off. And then the very next shot is the lone cameraman present in that shot.
Yeah, this isn't so much a mockumentary as it is a movie about characters making a documentary.
Yeah.
Because the cameraman is on screen, I would say, 80% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's never any mention as to who's filming the cameraman now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a movie.
Yeah.
Now it's just being a lazy movie.
Yeah.
And it's not following, we're not doing a fucking Spinal Tap thing here.
It seems like it's setting up a rule, but then it breaks it almost immediately.
Oh yeah, it fucking holds that rule's head into like a shallow puddle and it just drowns it.
So anyways, as Les is interviewing Joe Head, another neighborhood character comes by.
That sentence alone could basically just sum up the plot of the entire movie. Then another neighborhood character comes by.
I'll get to my point about that a little later. But another character comes by, and his name is Junior, and he's sort of a local thief.
Yeah, what's his last name?
Junior.
We're doing full Mario Brothers parody here. And it's our old friend Nicholas Turturro, who's come a long way from... chasing around dogs at Christmas time and getting farted on and whatnot. He's a lot more palatable in this movie than he was in that movie.
Yeah.
He's pretty funny. He's kind of funny. He's the main Turturro.
Yes.
In this. The other more successful Turturros have like bit parts.
Yeah.
And he's kind of the lead.
Almost.
I'd say there's like 3 leads.
Yeah.
It's Les, him, and Joe Head.
Les, I would say, like, is the lead, even though he's the least charismatic of all these characters.
And the movie straight up forgets about him for lots of the runtime.
Yeah. So, Junior breaks the news that One-Eyed Jimmy has gone missing. Mm-hmm. That's the inciting incident. He just reports that this character is missing, and that's what drives our characters to, like, start investigating this. Much at Les's, like, oh, maybe there's a story here that I can actually use for my documentary film.
Yeah, because he had no idea.
He had no plan.
He wasn't sure anything. He just figured, I'll take this cameraman who I guess I'm going to film school with. I guess he's my friend,
and I'm going to let him sleep on the floor whenever we do lodge.
he just wanders around, and
he falls ass backwards into this like mystery. So, okay, well, let's interview some people who may have, like, seen him last. So they go to One-Eye Jimmy's home, where they interview his distraught mother, his father. He's another character who only has one line in the fucking movie. And his 2 brothers.
See, this is why I'm surprised you don't remember, because his one line in the movie comes directly after the cameraman's one line.
Oh, okay. I thought that was whatever.
No, it was.
It's not important.
No, the cameraman. I don't know. So yeah. The dad is basically a non-entity. We learned that he has a thing where every time he's sad, he gets a boner. Mm-hmm. That's the one joke that character has.
Yeah.
Then we meet Jimmy's brothers, one of whom is played by Steve Buscemi. The other one is played by an actor that I didn't recognize. And there's nothing really to say about him other than the fact that he was wearing a sweet Bucky O'Hare t-shirt.
Yeah, that was
the main thing I noticed about him. That's the only thing that he really contributed to the movie. Yeah. And then his distraught mother, who's the other performance that I love.
Yeah.
Who's played by comedy legend Ann Mira, of Mira and Stiller, of course, Ben Stiller's mommy. She's great. I love her. I love her in this. She's really given 100%, and she's just like wild and crazy. And she's like, "Oh, my son, my boy," and I love her. I love everything she was doing.
A realistic character in this situation. So Steve Buscemi mentions that his brother had a glass eye, and that's why he's called One-Eyed Jimmy.
I mean, didn't really need to clarify that. We probably could have assumed, unless it was one of those ironic names where it's like you're talking about someone who's really big and he's like Little Joe or something. I don't know.
But like that's something that like this movie ought to have been doing, like going on sort of like this Odyssey and adventure where like every new scene introduces a new character. They reveal some detail about the character.
They almost do that. They almost do that.
They should have done that.
Yeah. They almost do that where every new character you meet, you learn like a new piece about One-Eyed Jimmy.
Yeah.
And they do that, I think, like for like 2 characters in a row, and then they give up.
They forget about it. Yeah, like what ought to have happened was every time they meet a new character, they say, "Oh yeah, I saw One-Eyed Jimmy. He went this. I gave him this, or he knows something like this." And like, okay, well, tag along with us. We're gonna go
putting
find
the
him.
pieces together. But
and then by the end of the movie, you have like fucking 9 characters in this search party.
Yeah.
You're just like growing the search party, and then they all trickle out at the end, having like maybe discovered something or found something about themselves. But they all have something relevant to do in the search for One-Eyed Jimmy.
The movie ostensibly is about like the characters like following this mystery and trying to find out where this character is. But none of them really seem to care that much about it. Even Les, who's making a film about that, kind of doesn't give that much of a shit.
He's
just kind of going along with it.
He's got incredibly selfish reasons for doing this. He's like, oh, whether he shows up dead or not, like, I'm on the cusp of the greatest urban mystery of all time. And like, no, you're not. A guy who's like always accused of being like kind of stupid and constantly drunk and unemployed. Yeah, no one's seen him in a couple of hours. Big mystery.
There's lots of jokes that are like abandoned too. Like there's kind of these running jokes where like Jimmy's brothers don't know important information about Jimmy because Jimmy's other brother, the non-Buscemi brother, doesn't know that Jimmy has a glass eye, and that's almost a joke. Yeah. And then like we later find out the story of how Jimmy lost his eye, and then they recounted to Buscemi, and Buscemi's like, "Oh, I didn't know that." I'm like, "Is there a gag here?" The brothers don't know their own brother.
Very close up family.
Yeah, but they don't. I don't know. It's
you could charitably say that there are a couple of jokes that like kind of go nowhere in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The screenplay. And the runtime.
The whole screenplay is one big joke.
I will say one thing for this movie. It is nice and short.
Yeah.
It's not even an hour and a half. It is a cool breeze. I was able to watch this movie and then watch an entire other movie in the same day.
Yeah. So Les, Joey, and Junior, and we should probably recap like
Joe Head.
Joe Head.
Yeah.
We're going to. We should probably like recap who's in the search party at every interval.
Yes.
Because I gotta say,
characters come and go.
Yeah. They find reasons for characters to run out of scenes. And then to run back into scenes.
Very often it's the same reason.
I have to imagine, like, for practical filmmaking purposes, that's because they needed someone to stand at either end of the street and just sort of, like, block traffic.
Sure. Or they just didn't have Nicholas Turturro for that shooting day. Like they had him on like Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Yeah.
They couldn't get him.
They got one of the other Turturros.
And so like they just include like these bad insert shots where he's so like, there's a character named Lefty, of course played by the great Ray Boom Boom Mancini.
Boom Boom.
Lefty only exists to have his car stolen by Junior, which is the most recurring gag in the movie. He does it like every third scene.
Yeah,
he's just constantly stealing Lefty's car and then getting
dropping
away with
off somewhere. And then, like joining the search party again.
It's like, where's Lefty even leaving his car in the first place? Also, he lives in downtown New York.
That's not downtown New York. That's like the dirtiest slums of Brooklyn.
But if there's one thing that I've gleaned from other people talking about New York, you don't need a car. It's an easy town to get around, just through public transportation. It's probably more expensive to own a car than it is. I don't know how it was back in 1993. Maybe it's different now.
All I recall is that he even makes the point that he doesn't even want the car. He's trying to get rid of the car.
Right.
And Junior
he sold it to his brother, but then Junior stole it and sold it to his brother before he was able to sell it to his brother. We're laughing. We're laughing.
Yeah.
So they go.
So at this point, Junior's on the run because Lefty's after him. So Lefty partners up with Les and Joe Head, and they go to meet the last person who saw One-Eye Jimmy, who is a local dancing legend, Disco Bean.
Disco Bean, played by John Turturro. Interesting name. Disco Bean.
Disco Bean.
Don't quite know. Is it because they wanted to differentiate him as possible as they could from Disco Stew?
Well, so it's all like predates Disco Stew.
Does it?
93? I don't know.
When did they introduce Disco Stew into The Simpsons?
Oh, God. Anyway, so...
Hold on.
John Turturro is this disco dancer who does like a complete hot shit and also a bit of a hothead. So, they go to question him. He reveals the story of how One-Eye Jimmy lost his eye. He was getting a blowjob from a transvestite prostitute.
Oh, I don't think it was a transvestite. I think they just said it was a tramp.
Just tramp? Okay, I
like
heard...
like a trampy prostitute.
Oh, maybe I heard tranny.
I don't know. Annoyingly, we watched this movie on. I watched this movie on Tubi.
Yeah. No subtitles.
No subtitles in this. Yeah. Which I don't know. Maybe because probably the DVD transfer came on a fucking cardboard sleeve or whatever.
Yeah.
Or just like whoever did the subtitles got 5 minutes into the movie. It's just like, no, fuck this. Yeah. No, I'm not doing this.
Yeah. So One-Eye Jimmy lost his eye because like during getting a blowjob from a prostitute, someone with a BB gun shot his eye out. And that's all that's really revealed. Les he partners up with Disco Bean for a dance number, and the scene ends when Lefty starts chasing after Junior in his car and he's brandishing a gun.
The first episode of Disco Stew was Two Bad Neighbors, which is the classic one with George Bush Sr., and you are correct. Jameson, yeah, that came out in 1996, which ironically was the year that One Eye Jimmy was released. But it was shot before that, so yes, this does predate Discos too. This is just such an annoying scene. I mean, like, I love John Turturro, but when he has nothing to work with, he just falls back into yelling. And the whole, like, funny character idea of all, like, oh, this character likes to dance. Oh, and he look at him. He's just all like, oh, come on, I gotta work on my dance moves. And it's just like, it's just the laziest improv character. And there's just nowhere to go with it, particularly if you're making him angry.
Yeah.
There's just nowhere to go with the character. And, it's just a significant waste of time. And a waste of a great actor.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I guess the whole family got involved, so I guess they're childhood friends with the director or whatnot. Who can say? This movie's been lost to time. What happened?
Well,
and also Disco Beam's not really dancing to disco.
Yeah.
What would you even call that music he was dancing to?
I don't know.
It's like early 90s
synth pop?
Yeah.
Maybe? I don't know.
I mean, it's hard to... We don't know. That's the point, is we don't know.
Yeah. All I know is he's gone for the rest of the movie after this scene.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. So now it's Les and Joehead and the camera guy. They're just like walking around through the neighborhoods again. They see these old ladies who are asking for donations for like the SPCA or for homeless animals, which also include wild animals, because that's the only joke. They glean no information from these ladies. They're just like a one-note gag, and then they too are gone from this movie.
You know a movie that we've done an episode on that this reminded me the most of?
Chasing Molly?
Chasing Molly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because it's just, this is a higher caliber, if you can believe it, Chasing Molly, where it's just a series of vignettes, and there's kind of a goal that the main characters are ascribing to, and it's just meeting random people, and then they're just doing their shtick.
Yeah.
And then they're gone. And that's just all this is. But believe it or not, it's slightly more watchable than Chasing Molly. And it's a more coherent movie than Chasing Molly.
Okay.
Even though it's quite poor.
Yeah.
And I didn't really like it, but I will give it to this. It is a better movie than that one was. Check out our Chasing Molly episode
for a worse version of this movie.
For more context on that. Junior and Lefty are like in like a car chase, and Lefty's like firing a gun at him, and we think, oh, this isn't going great. But then
the very next scene, they've resolved their differences, and they're at a cafe.
They're having beers, and we think they've resolved their differences, but then they start
play fighting.
Play fighting and leads to an actual fight.
That escalates to an actual fight, and it's like, who the fuck are these people?
Junior breaks his glasses, and it leads to another kind of funny line where he says these were subscription. Junior has some funny lines. I don't know. It's not too bad.
I mean, there's the one scene where, like, a day later, they go to pick up the filmmaker and say, okay, well, we're going to follow up on this other lead. Come on, get in my car. The filmmaker goes, what the fuck? That's my car. Oh, it is? Oh, sorry. Because he just can't help but steal.
Yeah, I love stealing. Well, yeah, the line that Junior says that I think is pretty funny in that scene is all like, that's my car. All right, fine, you drive.
Yeah.
Like, he's just kind of like... and then he gets in, he notices he's hot wired.
Yeah, in the car. I mean, that's cute.
There is some things here.
Not a lot.
No, not a lot. So what happens? So, like, there's like a scene where... they talk to a friend of theirs who's played inexplicably. Talk about, like, amazing gets for, like, this nothing movie. Flash dances Jennifer Beals.
Yeah.
No, she's in a couple of different scenes, but she's just, like, a friend of the family, and she draws a picture of One-Eyed Jimmy.
Yeah, she does like the sketch, missing person sketch.
Missing person sketch, and this is the first time we got a look at One-Eyed Jimmy. It's not a great look. We just see a Polaroid of him, but did he look slightly familiar to you in this moment?
Well, yeah.
Or was it wasn't until later when he actually shows up that you recognized what actor is actually playing this? Because I had no idea until he actually walked in. No. But there's definitely a moment here where we're looking at the Polaroid. I'm all like, who is that?
Yeah.
That looks...
Let's save it for
What's the timeline?
Yeah. There's no way
we'll save it, but spoiler, One-Eyed Jimmy turns out to be kind of a big deal. But that's a scene that goes nowhere. We get that Joe kind of has a bit of a crush on Jennifer Beals, but he has a crush on all the ladies.
Yeah.
And
you know, he just has a rough time through the entire movie because one of the running gags from is like everyone is just marveling at the size of his head. You know, it's like a pretty average sized head, but I guess the character's meant to have a huge head.
I guess compared to the other actors in the scenes, Michael Badalucco has kind of like a big head, but he's also a big guy.
Yeah.
So a big guy, big head. What are you gonna do? But that's like his one joke.
There was another subtler gag where no one will shake his hand.
Yeah, well, because nobody
likes him, but like it always follows up like, okay, like thanks for the interview, says Les, and he goes to shake the person's hand, like, oh, my pleasure, and then goes, hey, thanks again, says Joey, and everyone just stares him down.
You might even say he gets no respect.
Yeah.
So we're at 30 minutes into this plot description here. Let's talk about the man of the hour.
Yeah, Samuel Jackson.
Kind of the only scene that works. And unsurprisingly, because you give Sam Jackson like a little nibble, he usually fucking takes it and runs with it. I think he's one of the best characters.
He absolutely is. And one of the reasons why I thought, like, no, this movie needs to be about these people meeting the eccentric neighborhood characters, and then those eccentric characters joining in on the search. Because this movie desperately needed more of Samuel Jackson.
Yeah, he should have joined the search party.
Absolutely. So he plays this homeless, supposed Vietnam War veteran who we're led to believe is like shell-shocked and still believes he's in the war.
Colonel Ron, even though he wasn't a colonel.
Yep. They describe him as like the neighborhood nutjob, even though for my money, I think he might be the wittiest character in the movie. Yeah.
Colonel Ron, you say you saw Jimmy tonight.
That is correct.
Where did you see him?
In the water.
In the water?
Who are you?
You know me. I'm Junior.
Got a green card, Padre?
I'm a citizen.
Got a library card?
No.
Then you're a moron. Continue with the question.
You say you saw Jimmy in the water.
That is correct.
Was he swimming?
No, he was not.
How did you see him in the water?
I saw his reflection in the water. He was actually standing behind me.
Did he say anything to you?
He asked me what time the lunar eclipse was expected.
That doesn't sound like him.
Actually, his voice was deeper.
That's not what I meant. I was talking about...
Why don't you read a book?
Yeah, he has everyone's number. He has everyone's number immediately. He can't stop telling Les how much he stinks. He says he needs to get some Listerine, which I suppose is funny because his teeth are completely blacked out. He has what looks like just like black venom goo all over his mouth. He is not looking great. But yeah, he's got a combat helmet which has a Christmas tree attached to it for some reason. I guess he's in camo or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
He's fishing in the reservoir and he pulls out a boot because that's comedy.
There it is. Yeah.
You gotta get that boot on that line. And they ask because apparently this is the last person who saw One-Eyed Jimmy alive.
Yeah, I saw him in the water. You did? Yeah. His reflection. He was actually behind me.
Yeah.
Like, oh, thanks, Groucho Marx.
And and the scene ends far too soon when he says, oh, here comes Jimmy now. And it turns out it was one-armed Jimmy. Colonel Ron. You're getting your Jimmys mixed up here.
What was that? What was that other wonderful line he says? Like, oh yeah, and Jimmy said like he'll be right. He said to me he'll be right back. You know, like that doesn't sound like Jimmy. Well, his voice is deeper. That's pretty fucking clever for this movie.
He also says if they hadn't shot my dick off in Nam, I'd whip it out and piss in your face. Yeah.
And that's Samuel Jackson.
And that's really sad. Well, thankfully no.
Yeah, he comes
Thankfully
back.
no, he does actually show up for one more scene.
Yeah. But we gotta get to the scene where they go to the police station.
Oh, we got to.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's so much happens.
Well, I mean... There's just so many problems with this fucking movie. There's a visual gag that happens in the police station where Junior has like the Groucho Marx glasses on as a disguise because he's a known thief, so he's got to have a disguise. Had they not mentioned it and it just like remained as a visual gag, that would have been really fucking funny.
No, but they gotta get up and they gotta have like a powwow in like the corner of the detective's office. The detective can hear everything that they're saying. They're referencing the wanted poster immediately behind him. But this detective just doesn't care. He's like the audience watching this movie. He's just all like, look, maybe if I don't say much, this will be over quicker. So maybe I can fucking get out of here. He's wearing a disguise in a joke that's aged fantastically. He says he's Donald Trump and he lives in Trump Tower because I guess it was just fun to reference him back in the day. He was a figure that people wanted to mention for reasons.
Oh, the concept of him being a criminal? Huh.
Who would have thought? Who could have assumed? They run into Steve Buscemi again, who's not having great luck with his cutout.
With his cutout, get a picture with a cardboard cutout business.
He says, this isn't making a lot of money. I should have brought my Spike Lee cutout, which I guess is a reference to the fact that most of these guys have been in Spike Lee movies up until this point. But also, at this point, Spike Lee was a New York celebrity.
Yeah.
And, he was always a very fashionable man. So he was... I imagine people wanted their picture taken with Spike Lee. I have to imagine...
More so than some no-name wrestler.
Some who I believe is not a real wrestler. I think he's a creation of this movie. But this is when we get another sort of funny gag. They're all standing around here, and then someone drives by in a car and starts throwing ransom notes. He throws a ransom note tied to a rock to Steve Buscemi.
It's written in the cutout letters of a magazine.
Of course, because how else are you going to do a ransom note? They asked for $10,000, but
it doesn't say where to deliver it to.
And then they toss another rock, and they toss 4 rocks?
Yeah.
Kind of funny.
Always following up,
But there's no timing to the joke. It's a joke that is failed by, there's no good rhythm to it. It's just they're like, oh, there's and no, and again, no one seems surprised. Everyone seems very nonchalant that this is happening.
Had they at least shown a car driving by, like peeling up and tossing a rock and then skidding out of there, that could have helped. Yeah, at least it'd be such a jarringly comedy cut. Yeah. But
the final rock also contains Jimmy's supposed glass eye, so they know they mean business. Now, I had a theory about the movie at this point in time. There was a blink and you'll miss it moment in the scene earlier where Junior and Steve Buscemi's brother character kind of have a moment where they kind of exchange a look and they kind of tap each other on the arm. And as soon as they did that, I'm like, oh, they're in on it. They're trying to get money out of this or whatever. And this was the other moment where I'm just kind of all like, okay, there's definitely, so something's going on, and they're in league with Jimmy, and they're trying to get everything together. And I was almost right, but not really. Steve Buscemi doesn't have anything to do with it. But I suppose we'll get to that. I don't know what you got anything else?
Well, this whole ransom note money drop off point is a huge detour that this movie does, because they go to the drop off site. They bring that one detective that they had the call with, and it's.
But there's so many other characters in that.
Lefty shows up inexplicably for whatever.
Why does Lefty give a fuck?
He's only there so they could set up another fucking joke by the end of the scene. But it's
Oh yeah, and guess what the punchline is?
So it's Junior who wrote those ransom notes, even though he doesn't know where Jimmy is. He just wanted to exploit the situation to get some money.
A lot of money. $10,000.
Yeah, but which, we haven't mentioned how they get the money.
We have to talk about this because
it's kind of relevant.
It is slightly relevant. They go to the local loan shark, who is a gentleman known as the Whale. Well, he used to be known as the Whale, but he's lost a lot of weight recently, so now he prefers to be called the Snake.
You could have just called him the Snake right from the get-go, but whatever.
No, we have to have these fat jokes. We have to include the idea that this person
guy used
to be fat. And he is played by the recently dearly departed Tony Sirico.
Yeah.
Who passed away a few days ago. It's been a really rough month for the fake mafia.
Yeah.
Hasn't it, Jameson?
Yeah, James Caan.
Ray Liotta earlier. Yeah, it's fake gangsters. Watch out.
Yeah.
Definitely. Did you know what Tony Sirico did before he was an actor, Jameson?
No. Was he a loan shark?
He was a criminal. he was a legitimate criminal.
Hey, so is Danny Trejo.
That again, yeah, our other favorite. Tony Sirico was arrested 28 times for disorderly conduct, assault, robbery, extortion, coercion, felony weapon possession. He served 4 years in prison. 20 months of that was in Sing Sing.
Oh.
He's literally Paulie Walnuts from Sopranos. He just came out, but when he was in prison, he got into acting.
Okay.
It was literally that trope of reformed criminals coming through and they're doing Long Day's Journey into Night or whatever, and he's just in the audience. He's just all like, "Hey, I could probably do that."
Yeah.
And he just had an amazing career of kind of playing that one role, but fuck was he good at it.
Yeah,
and you know what? He's so He's so fun. Even in this movie, he's got a great laugh.
Yeah.
He's great when he's mocking people. He's just fun. He's just a fun presence. It's sad to lose him.
My favorite thing about his presence in this movie is like, do you think things might not have been going so well for the whale, aka the snake? Because he's got a pretty rinky-dink business. He's got a real shit heap of an office in this derelict store.
I think that had less to do with the whale's. The snake's business, and more to do with the fact that Sam Henry-Cast just couldn't find any location to film his stupid fucking movie, and so he literally found like
a derelict store.
Like a derelict building, and then
that's the front of this like powerful loan shark.
I guarantee you, it's the same building that they shot like the apartment in. They repurposed like 8 different rooms of this one building for all of like the different sets of this one movie.
So he gives Steve Buscemi the $10,000 in ransom money,
but he says he has to pay $15,000 back or whatever. I don't know, because he's a loan shark. What are you gonna do?
I think he might just only have like those 2 wads of cash. He's the richest guy in town, but by like actual, like criminal loan shark
I'm
standards.
the richest guy in town. I got 2 wads.
Got 2 wads.
Look at I got all these wads here.
This is my wad for lending out, and this is my wad for this is my me money.
This is my walking around wad. So he gets the money, and then Junior tries to steal it, but they stop Junior, and Junior gets arrested, and then as he's being hauled away, he tells Lefty that he stole his car again, and Lefty's like, son of a bitch! We're Italian!
Yeah.
And
what a fucking stupid detour that movie took for that. That didn't really resolve anything.
We wasted like 35 minutes just on all of this business alone.
Yeah. And like fucking Junior's back in the very next scene, having like made bail and like now filed a restraining order against the guy who he keeps stealing from.
Yeah, what? It really doesn't make any sense why he has a restraining order against Lefty, even when he is... I guess that's the joke. The joke is that Lefty should have a restraining order against him, but Junior got a restraining order. He beat him to it because he's a son of a bitch.
Yeah.
But apparently he found Jesus.
He's partnered up with a priest.
A priest who definitely is a priest.
Yeah.
Because he shows up in like sunglasses. He's all like, "Hey, God bless you, my child."
Yeah.
And it's revealed,
forget about it.
Revealed later that it's his cousin because of course it fucking is.
Yeah, why not? So we cut back to the mother, who's like almost at her wit's end here. She's like hanging up the flyers, looking for her lost son. She's like, I just need like any kind of sign, any kind of answers. I gotta go to a psychic to like ease my jangled nerves.
And the psychic is played by the third corner of the Turturro triangle, Ada Turturro, making it a big Sopranos reunion here. And her joke is that she's
not a psychic.
She's a fake psychic.
Yeah,
and she does all of her readings with just like a regular deck of cards.
not even tarot cards, just like a regular playing card deck.
Yeah,
which is funny because like you got to explain like these rubes and everything. But my big sticking point about this movie is that Joey keeps
staring at her boobs,
fixating at her cleavage. Now, and there's no way for me to talk about this without sounding a little pervy. When that's the joke,
go on.
All right. When that's the joke that you have this loser character who's fixated on this woman's cleavage, you gotta play up the fact that it's unavoidable. Put her in a push-up bra, get her in a really low-cut shirt. She's just wearing a regular blouse, and through like the seams of like the buttons, he can see a little bit of flesh. You gotta play up the fact that like she's a busty gal, she's got like heaving breasts that like no one, like not even the audience can avoid looking at this chest. Because how it's done right now is just coming off as like, Joey's not a creep, the director's a creep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And based on the very little that I know about Sam Henry-Cast, he's absolutely a creep. And I'll say that on record, even though I don't know the guy. And most of his work now is online, so he might listen to this.
He might have legions of fans.
Oh, God.
But hey, that might mean like increased viewership.
That's true. That's true. People will just hate listen.
Hate watch too.
They'll just hate listen to this podcast here. I thought they were setting Ada Turturro up to like get together with Joe Head. If maybe only because I know her as the sister from The Sopranos, and her whole deal was constantly falling into relationships with people who she shouldn't have fallen into relationships with. But I guess I was projecting, because no, she's yet another character who won't touch Joe Head or give him the time of day, mostly because he's a creepy mouth breather that's constantly staring at her cleavage.
So she reassures the mom, just keep doing what you're doing, like offering really no help.
Offering false hope.
Yeah, but that perks the mother right back up, and to the point of hysteria, where she is like, okay, well now he's guaranteed to come back. Let's host this big welcome back party. You got to invite everybody in the neighborhood. And as she's like, detailing all these instructions, like the musical stings keep escalating. It's like,
okay, I gotta run. I gotta make the arrangements. I gotta prepare. I'm sure everybody knows. Tonight at the house. Have a good time.
it's like the cha-cha slide.
Well, it's a moment where clearly the composer
Right up one time. Bum.
he scored that particular scene to. They filmed it first and then he scored it to that scene because the score is punctuated by Ann Mira turning around like she's walking away and is all like, and tell everybody blip, and so and do this blip, and so yeah, every time she does like a motion, it's like a fucking Bob Fosse musical number. Every move she makes, the score is like blah, 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 blah. Not the weirdest musical cue.
No.
In this movie, I think we'll get to that. I think maybe you're thinking of the same one I'm thinking of.
I'm thinking of what the thing that happens exactly next. This minute-long pointless scene where Les and Joey have like this Seinfeld-esque talk discussion about whether they should eat before the party or not.
Where even Les is starting to get tired of Joey's bullshit. Like Les is like kind of like the one guy that can kind of put up with Joey. Even not, his name's Joe. His name's not Joey.
Okay, Joe.
But like, yeah, it's just like this like pointless fucking scene. Because this movie doesn't have enough of those. Where Joe is just like, do you think they're gonna have chicken at the party?
I don't know, Joe. I don't know.
I think I'm. You know what? They're gonna have chicken at the party. You know what? I'm gonna change my answer.
Whatever, Joe.
They're gonna have fish at the party. It's just like.
Shut the fuck up, Joe.
Should I eat dinner before I come? What kind of questions do you ask? If you're hungry, then eat. If you're not hungry, don't eat. What's a big problem? A big problem? You ask the strangest questions. Don't get mad. So what do you think I'll beat there? I don't know. I'm gonna take a guess. Okay? What? Okay, take a guess. Chicken. That's a good guess. Think so? Yeah. You think that's what they'll have? I don't know. All I said was that's a good guess. Now I get the feeling you know something. What do I know? Well, like maybe it's not gonna be chicken. How do I know what they're serving? She just decided to have this party. Enough already. One more thing. What? I'm gonna change my guess. I don't care. Ready? All right. I'm going with fish. Fish it is. It is? Shut up.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I know. I'm getting hot up on this.
So,
but anyway, they throw a party.
They invite everybody, include all the bums. They don't invite Disco Bean.
Disco Bean is
he's
the
noticeably
only
absent.
And weirdly enough, that's the one character you assume would go to a party.
Yeah.
A party
that
guarantees that there will be dancing there. But I guess John Turturro could not be bothered. But yes, every character we have seen in the movie up until now shows up at this party, including Colonel Ron. I was so happy that he was back. He's got chips in his helmet. It's great. He's there. He's contributing to the moment. He's giving people salutes.
Yeah. And Joe, for whatever fucking reason, has this renewed sense of confidence, so he goes to dance with Jennifer Beals.
Well, yeah, I mean, he does the thing where she turns him down for a dance, and then he does the thing which everybody should do, and I highly recommend this. When a woman says no, what you have to do is you have to literally force her to do the thing that you want. You have to grab her, and you have to force her to dance against her will, and then right at the end, you have to force a big old smack on her lips. Everyone should do that. Fellas, if you're listening, this is
big girl advice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this works out great. Yeah, absolutely. There's not a hint of irony in my voice. Do this.
Well,
but it's played as a sweet moment because this movie was made by a maniac.
Well, if that was meant to be a sweet gesture, after the dance, he like tosses her under a couch, and then he goes back to hanging out with his guy friends.
Yeah, and of course she seems kind of into it because fucking women. That's what they want. They want a man who'll grab her and fucking.
Yeah, she was in Flashdance. She's a maniac.
That is true. She is a maniac on the floor. Yes.
Yeah.
It must be said, Jennifer Beals is in this movie, and they do make her dance.
Yeah.
At one moment. That is the only remarkable thing about this.
Speaking of dancing, did you happen to notice Tony Sirico's dancing in the background?
Oh yeah, he's
just like looking to the left. He's
kind of like
and
moving around.
Right.
It's going good. Joe Head also fills his pockets full of chicken wings,
which becomes a late game recurring joke.
Yeah.
Every other subsequent scene after seeing him stuff chicken fingers into his pockets.
Chicken wings.
Yeah. Yeah. It just becomes like, he'll name drop chicken wings.
I just want to be like weirdly specific about this because like, yeah, they keep, this chicken wing thing is like a runner. They keep going back to it. He keeps saying like, those were like, I've never had chicken wings as good as that. These look like some nasty fucking chicken wings.
They don't look great.
I have spent many years working in like kitchens, throwing things into a deep fryer. These look like the shittiest, driest fucking chicken. There's no batter on them. They just took raw fucking chicken and they just threw it in a deep fryer and they just cooked it until there was no moisture in it left. These look terrible.
And there's probably like 10 minutes left in the movie and they introduce this running gag that they bring up like 4 more times in the remaining 10 minutes.
Because he's a fat guy. So he's got to be obsessed with food from up until now.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You know those little chicken wings you served tonight?
Yeah.
Where'd you get them? I never tasted wings like that.
Want to eat chicken? Fine.
Can I get you anything?
You don't have any chicken wings, do you?
No, we don't.
Make sure they got chicken wings.
It's like, that's an idea that the director had in this last scene. And it's all like, oh, this will be his thing. He's a big fatty. He wants to talk about food all the time. But he forgot that there was only 10 minutes of his movie left.
Yeah.
Oh, I also wanted to mention about the party. While Joe Head and Jennifer Beals are dancing, everyone's clapping, everyone's cheering along.
Except for Colonel Ron.
Except for Samuel L. Jackson, who is scowling and has a look on his face like, what am I doing with all these white people?
You crazy white folk.
I need to get out of this party. I just realized I'm the only black person here. I no longer feel safe.
Yeah. I'm the neighborhood-eccentric crazy guy.
That was a genuine laugh I had.
Yeah.
Where everyone looked like they were having a great time, and Samuel L. Jackson just looks like someone ripped the biggest fart right by his face. Because he's a good actor.
He's a fantastic.
And he knows what the scene needs, and he knows what will be funny.
Yeah.
So everyone leaves. It looks like the party didn't work. So everyone clears out, and Les and Joehead are about to go home.
When... It's the return of One-Eyed Jimmy!
The search is over!
He just happens to come home and he looks fucking dehydrated and disoriented and has like the greatest walk-on music I've ever heard.
There he is. Jimmy, where the hell you been?
Oh my God! Jimmy! It did work! My son has come home! Oh, Jimmy.
Hey, Jimmy, how you doing?
Jimmy.
And he walks through the door, and surprise, he's played by a young Sam Rockwell.
Yeah!
In what has to be one of his earlier roles. Well, oh no, because he did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
In 1990, and this was 93. Oh yeah, so like this is like primo fucking Sam Rockwell.
Yeah.
Just like he wasn't anything at this point. He didn't have like any sort of following. So
he knew,
and he's the titular character.
So he knew he had to nail this monologue.
And you know what?
Yeah.
I'd say he did. I'd say he pulled it off.
Yeah.
Because he's a funny, entertaining dude, and you know what? Yeah, he does kind of kill this sort of reveal. Because yeah, he's playing. Because what does the interstitial titles call him?
He's a fucking bum.
A fucking bum. And then the mystery is revealed.
He was locked in the basement.
He was locked in the basement. He was doing laundry, and he got locked in the basement, and the elevator wasn't working.
He couldn't get to the street access because it was blocked. The building super was out of town, so...
Yeah. Now, were you trying to figure out, like, the layout of this basement based on what he was saying? Because it sounds like, the way he was describing it, it sounds like the superintendent's apartment was in, like, the basement of the building.
Yes.
And I guess maybe that's how things were in like the early 90s, sort of like slum buildings and stuff like that. I'm kind of used to this whole generation of, you know, landlords taking advantage of people. And like if a landlord were to live in the building, they would obviously have the nicest suite. It sounds like this, I guess he's the superintendent.
Sure.
Here's a question that I've just thought of. What's the difference between a landlord and a superintendent?
Superintendent does most of the repair work on site, and I think the landlord is just the person that owns the complex.
Okay, so a superintendent would. Okay, so a superintendent probably would have a shitty apartment.
Yeah.
But anyway, he breaks into the superintendent's apartment, and that's where he's been living. Yeah, that's where he's been subsiding.
And he's like, oh, there was no food, and the phone wasn't working, and the toilet wasn't working.
Well, it is funny. He has his priorities in check, because he says, it was terrible, I've been in the basement for 5 days, there was no cable, the toilet didn't work, and there was no beer. One of those 3 things is genuinely important.
Yeah.
But, so he comes in, he says he was down there the entire time, he chugs like 2 beers in a row.
Yeah. You know what I thought was a missed opportunity is the way that he describes this harrowing tale, and how like the problem just kept escalating for what kept him down there. I thought this was going to lead down to like a very Norm Macdonald Shaggy Dog kind of story with a fantastic punchline. And no, it didn't.
No, there's no punchline. And also, like, it has the weirdest musical sting over this entire story. All of a sudden, it feels like we're in like an early David Lynch film. Like, there's no real good way to describe this music. It's like tense
and eerie, and
it's almost like industrial. It's very odd. It doesn't suit this story, because what he's doing, he's telling a comical ending to this journey that everyone's been on.
To the mystery that he, like, to his whereabouts.
But the music is telling us, and it's all like, man, isn't it fucked up that this happened?
This guy, like, narrowly escaped a supernatural death.
Yeah, he was on, like, the cusp of fucking, like, life. He was, like, staring eternity in the face.
Yeah. There's like, a spiritual sequel where it's just, like, him alone in, like, a supernatural horror film. Surviving in his basement.
Well, there is a spiritual sequel. It's called Naked Party.
Right, yeah.
So Les is pissed off because his movie is ruined.
Yeah, a man turned out to be alive, and what a jip.
And also, as I mentioned earlier, when the party ends, that's when the cameraman has his one line, and he talks to Jimmy's dad, and Jimmy's dad has one line, and I don't know what the purpose of it was.
Whatever.
I just wanted to mention that because I mentioned it earlier.
But his student film is in ruin, and we assume that's the end, but we get an epilogue scene. Where some Hollywood bigwigs got a hold of his footage.
They love it!
They love it!
This is what the public wants!
It's speaking to a whole new generation of people. Like, we gotta sign these guys, we gotta distribute this film.
And they set up a meeting, and you assume that Les and the cameraman are gonna come in, but no, swerve! It's Junior and Joe Head, who I guess were upset that they were actually named in the movie, even though I think they said that they could be named in the movie. I don't even remember.
Oh, they approached him. Approached Les,
but they completely fucked Les over, and they sued him for like the rights of the movie, and now they're like the owner of the intellectual property. And
even the producer's like, okay, well, what can we do to fast track like another project from you guys? And that's where I'm starting to think, well, it's a damn shame you screwed over the filmmaker on this, because as much of an unscrupulous guy as he is, people in the neighborhood were talking to him. They would answer his questions. Everyone that they interviewed spent at least a comfortable few minutes razzing Joey and Junior.
Yeah.
They don't like Joey and Junior. Joey Joe Jr.
Joe Jr. Shabadoo. Yeah, that's the crux of
that's
of
my
that
point.
Reference
So
here.
whatever.
And then they leave and they go to get a reservation at Spago's, and as they're driving away, we realize, Junior stole the producer's car because he can't stop stealing.
Yeah.
And that's thankfully the end.
Yeah, we are serenaded through the credits by this movie's like fucking title track.
Oh, One-Eyed Jimmy.
Yeah.
This movie wasn't very good. Did we talk about anything? Did we mention anything else? I don't know.
I think I ran through the entire fucking
we really
list, which
did.
Is very rare.
This was not great.
No.
But it's far from the worst thing that we've ever watched on this thing. But does it?
The show that we do.
But does it have a certain something?
No.
No, it doesn't. No. There we go. There's problem solved. The search is over. The search is concluded. It was pointless.
A few okay to clever lines aren't enough to salvage this entire ordeal. I don't know if what the 90s independent film scene was like. I do think this came out maybe a few months before Clerks. So maybe there was a
Clerks.
Because I don't know.
Was 1990.
Because this is a strictly independent film. That was...
Oh, yeah, 1994, yeah.
Okay, so...
but this movie was not released until 1996. So it would have been around the same time as Clerks.
Yeah.
So
Clerks made an impact, and then I guess, like, some distributor was like, what else do we got? What other, like, bullshit failed student film do we have on the shelves?
You say you don't know what independent film was in, like, this era of the 90s. It was the people that we've been talking about.
Right,
it was
Spike Lee.
It was Tarantino. It was the Coens.
Right.
It was other slightly lesser-known independent artists like Tom Tacalo and, oh, God, Cass, come on. You can think of more than this.
It's the halcyon days of those acclaimed filmmakers using most of the cast from those movies that also coincidentally are appearing in this film. Yeah. This has money written all over it.
Yeah, and as I said, to repeat something that I said earlier, the only reason that this movie had any sort of traction is that it had the good fortune to cast most of the stars of the other movie. I mean, like, this movie got a massive... There are so many movies after Pulp Fiction that got the Tarantino bump. Yeah. That either were trying to, like, ape Tarantino's style or just had, like, an element of Tarantino. And, you know, this movie combines the two stars of Tarantino's first movie. You got both Buscemi and Samuel L. Jackson in there, plus a smattering of Coen brother supporting players and, like, other people that people had seen in other things. Yeah. And in some cases, it took them a lot longer.
And the star of Flashdance in it.
And the star of Flashdance for, like, I don't know how much they pumped. I mean, like, if you want to talk about a career that was nowhere after, like, maybe 5 years, we got to talk about Jennifer Beals. Jennifer Beals is, like, a full Linda. I mean, like, she had the same sort of, like, career trajectory as Linda Hamilton. She was in, like, one of the most successful movies of 1983. And then name one other Jennifer Beals movie, Jameson.
No,
I can barely do it.
No, I refuse.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, exactly.
I won't play your games.
You can.
You madman.
You can indeed, but you choose not to. Yeah.
One thing I do know about this is that they did have a 25th anniversary screening and Q&A of this.
Yep, that's what it said on the trivia thing. Yep.
How busy do you imagine that screening was?
I can guarantee you most of the cast did not show up.
Oh yeah.
Like, if I had to guess, I would assume possibly they could have gotten Michael Badalucco or Nicholas Turturro. Those two guys probably. Although Michael Badalucco won an Emmy, so he is better than showing up to talk about this movie. Nicholas Turturro seems like the type of person who would show up for anything. He was in Pups Alone. Lest we forget. Yeah. He is one of the stars of Pups Alone.
I was going to say, with as many Turturros in this, odds are at least one of them could have shown up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this movie sucked and I hated it.
It's like the fourth lesser known Turturro.
Yeah.
That shows up. And that's got to be like a huge family. How many people are in the... This is just the episode
where Kaz looks up movie trivia
stuff on that. I'm just curious how many siblings are in the Turturro clan. Just the three of them. There we go. Oh, and also, I'm actually glad I looked that up. Ada Turturro is actually John and Nicholas's cousin.
Okay.
She's not their sister. So there we go. I take that back there. But, still within the family. There we go.
Thank God you caught that.
Thank goodness. That's all we have to fucking say about this, right? All right, cool. Well, that was...
that was a search of
the search for One-Eyed Jimmy.
We learned so much about ourselves.
Written and directed by Sam Henry Cass. Yeah. If you liked this episode,
I can't imagine why, but
you should definitely check out the other episodes that we've done.
We got some better episodes in our back catalog.
We do, our back catalog. Now, if you go back into our back catalog, you're gonna reach a point where you're like, what's happening here?
Why is this guy being so mean to Coolio?
Don't worry. Don't worry. You're not. Your phone isn't, or your tablet or your laptop. It's not malfunctioning. This podcast used to have a different name. The name was "The Fuck Is This," which eagle-eyed listeners will notice is our catchphrase. Except I don't think I said it this time. But it's the same podcast.
Yeah.
It's the same show.
I don't even
I'm talking to the new people.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Right. So that's that. But if you like this, you'll probably like that.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would like this, but if you do like this, listen to that.
You'll like that too.
And if you're listening to this on a device.
We're on Spotify and YouTube,
that
folks.
doesn't have a visual element to it, and you want a visual element to it, guess what? We have a YouTube channel.
We do.
And on that YouTube channel, we include... What do we include?
We include pictures.
Pictures!
And sometimes video clips.
Sometimes!
Usually not from the movie, because then we'll get copyright struck.
That's
But
right.
I'll definitely throw in that one from Ghost Rider.
That's right. Oh yeah, you gotta. That's because that's like 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can include that entire thing.
I'm gonna play it again twice right here.
Play it again.
Your grandma said you were coming right home after school. Where you been?
Did I?
And you lied to me, Jamal. I told Lieutenant McQuaid you would never lie to me. And now I find out they have enough evidence to arrest you for arson. What is going on?
Twice, right here.
For you lucky listeners and viewers who stuck
now
around
we
for
have
the
to
whole thing.
Now we have to do that.
Yeah.
Please.
What do you mean we?
Your grandma said you were coming right home after school. Where you been?
Did I?
And you lied to me, Jamal. I told Lieutenant McQuaid you would never lie to me. And now I find out they have enough evidence to arrest you for arson. What is going on?
Please follow us.
Please follow us.
On Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. You can search Nothing Movies. I'm sure you'll find that. What do I normally say? Oh, thank you to Eddie Lamb for our theme music. And next episode, we're going to be wrapping up Sam Jackson by talking about a movie that he is the star of.
Yeah, finally prominently in a film.
I'm like 90% certain I know what movie it is. I don't want to say it on my, just in case something changes. Sure. But we've done 2 movies that he's barely in. It's about time that we cover one where he's actually the marquee star of the thing. And we'll do that next episode. And we'll see you next episode. For Nothing Movies, I'm Kaz.
And I'm Jameson, and I still haven't fucking memorized that line from Pulp Fiction.
That's okay, because I've got to sign off now.
Oh, nice. Great.
I figured it out. You ready?
Yeah.
You ready for it?
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Oh.
It's good, right? It's
yes,
simple.
it's nice.
The thing is, I was overthinking it before. Yeah.
Cool.
So there we go. That's our sign. That's our official
Thanks
sign.
for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
It's so no one else says that. It's great. We'll put it on a T-shirt. That's my new catchphrase. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thanks for your charity.
I've thrown in everyone in there.
Thanks for your charity.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Fuck! I fucked it up.
Jesus Christ! End it.